Hey gamers, today we're going to look at Hansa Teutonica. Let's check it out. So it's very easy. What you're going to do is shuffle these bonus tokens, leave a stack here, deal a few of them out on the board where it's indicated. You're going to have little cubes here to indicate the building track, some cubes there on the score track, and of course each player is going to have their own little player board that looks like a little desk. Now, this is the only confusing thing about the game. Your cubes that are at the bottom of your desk, these are the reserve down here. And anything on top of your desk up here, that's your supply. You'll be placing cubes and discs from your supply, and then anything in your reserve, you'll be moving up into your supply so you can place it out on the board. That's really the only confusing thing about the game is, hey, what's my supply? What's my reserve? Do I grab stuff from here or grab stuff from there? Other than that, the game is very straightforward. In fact, it tells you what all the actions you can do here. And starting up, you'll have some actions covered that you can upgrade any of your movements later on. But right now, everyone starts with 2 actions. What are some of the actions you can do? Well, in this game, your first action right here is to grab stuff from your reserve and move it into your supply. And you can always grab as many discs or cubes as there are bags here, well, the number indicated on the bag, which is 3. Now everyone's going to start off with 5 cubes and 1 disc already in their supply, and the rest of their stuff will be in their reserve. So I could, for one action, take, in this case, 3 cubes and move them into my supply from the reserve. Another action I can do is I can place cubes or disc for an action. So for one action, I could also place one anywhere here on the board. Another action you can do is you can bump someone. So let's say that Red put his guy there and I was right here, and Red's like, nah, I'm not gonna let you complete that road. Well, on my turn, I could take one and bump, as one of my actions, bump this red cube out. Now a few things happen. First off, when I bump a red cube out, one of my cubes goes from my supply back into my reserve, kind of like a penalty. Vice versa though, for the red, they will get to get one of their cubes from their reserve and put it into their supply. They also get to relocate this cube anywhere on the board that they want to. So that's one of your actions, is bumping someone else. A fourth action you can take has to do with these books here. You start off with the number 2, and then of course you can upgrade as the game goes on. And basically what you're doing is you can take any 2 cubes in the area of yours and place them anywhere you want. So for instance, let's say I had a few more cubes here, maybe one there. I could just go ahead and take both of these and maybe, hey, I'll move them right there and complete that path there. So that's another action you can do, is just basically move X amount of cubes from one spot to any other, only your own though. And then the final action you can do is basically pull your cubes off the track and do a few things. First off, you want to pull it off the track and maybe inhabit one of these buildings to the side here. Now buildings come in different colors, as you see here. Right now this is called privileges. You have access to the white one, and then later on in the game you can have access to the yellow, pink, and black privileges as well. So for instance, if I was to pull these down, they'd go back into my reserve, but one of them would stay and could either go in this building or this building. Now I can only go to the white buildings because that's the only privilege that I have right now. So I'd move into there, and from then on out, anyone who scores on this row, like pulls cubes off this row, I'm going to gain a victory point. So let's say Red came through here and they were scoring something and they removed their cubes. Well, since I was there, I would get a victory point. So it's basically one of the ways you can score victory points as a game, is establishing little houses in the area. And of course, you can only inhabit the buildings that you have over here. But as time goes on, people are going to get access to the different color buildings, and that's important too, because if Red, let's say Red had black privilege, and you see some of these are circles and squares. You may not be able to see from there. Let me zoom in a little bit and show you what I mean. If you see here, these are obvious squares. This one is a circle. That means, let's say Red was establishing a route here. If they wanted to score it for one of their actions, they could take all these up, leave that disc, and put it over here. A cube will not go in there because that is a circle. Only disc must go there. And over here, disc can't go here, only squares. So you can tell the difference of what you need, but you need to have that already out on the path. You can't just take it from your supply. Like let's say red had 3 cubes on there. Well, they obviously couldn't take that one because that needs a disc. They should have placed a disc down here. I should also mention, when I talked about bumping people, let's say red had their disc out there and I wanted to bump their disc. Well, that's even worse for me because bumping a disc means I got to take 2 of my items from my supply and put them back into the reserve. And meanwhile, the red player, they get 2 cubes or 2 items from their reserve and that they can put in their supply, and they get to re-put this one anywhere. As you see, all the roads have a circle and a square in them, so you can put them anywhere there. But those are some of the actions that you can do. Now, what about upgrading a lot of these actions? Well, there's spots here on the board that you can use to upgrade actions, and it's very simple to tell what's what because it's based off their little icons that you see here, here, and here. This guy's carrying a book, this guy is looking at the privileges track, this guy's holding a bag, he's holding a key, and he's holding a letter. So if ever you were, let's say, to complete this road here, and you wanted to do, as one of your actions, pull the cubes from that road, you could do one of a few things. You could go ahead and just put a little person there, you know, and inhabit one of the houses, so on future turns, if anyone went through there, you'd get a victory point for it. Or instead of putting one of your cubes, leaving one of your cubes in a house, you could remove them from the board and take the action that's on the picture. So in this case, I would remove one of my cubes, put it into this reserve there, and now on my next turn, I'm going to get 3 actions. And as you see, if you unlock all those, not only do you get more cubes on your turn, but you're going to get to have 5 actions per turn. So that's very powerful there. Same thing with the bag. If you were to keep, you know, scoring that bag track, you could eventually get to where you're drawing 5 from your reserve into your supply, or 7, or that means just unlimited. So for an action, I could take all of these cubes and discs and put them over there in my supply. If the book was open and you scored that a couple of times, not only would you get some really powerful disc in the game, but you can also start moving even more and more cubes around the board. Here it's like 5 at a time. That's really nice. Of course, I've already told you about the privileges. You keep scoring that. You'll keep scoring different privileges. First the yellow, then the pink, and then the black. And of course, getting more cubes there. And then finally, the keys there. The keys are in-game bonus points. For instance, however many houses you have inhabited with your cubes, you would multiply it by however many keys you've unlocked. So in this case, if I had the 4, it'd be 4 times however many buildings I had. And that's for in-game scoring. That's what the keys are used for. I should also mention there are these bonus tokens I pointed out earlier. They just look like little meat and potatoes, and they have little special bonuses on there. If you didn't want to inhabit a house and you just removed your cubes here for an action, you could take the bonus token here. And what you're going to do is flip it around, and the instructions will tell you what each one means. This is kind of self-explanatory. You can get 3 more actions this turn. Woohoo! So once you use it, you'll just throw it on here in this little plate area on the meat and potatoes side, indicating it's been used. Now, and then of course you'll replace it with another one from the stack. Now, of course, at the end of the game, these are also worth victory points, but it depends on how many of them that you have. Kind of like a set collection, except it doesn't matter what's underneath, it's just all the meat and potatoes. Another track I do want to explain here is this track here. As you see, it's just people holding these, you know, it looks like golden disc. What happens is, let's say a player, and he has to put a disc down here too, if he wanted to remove his cubes as an action from this track, and he didn't want to inhabit one of the buildings here, then what he could do, he could also put his little disc right here and get those victory points. So as you can see, the more discs you put down, 7, 8, 9, 11 victory points as people keep using that. The only bad thing about it is that locks one of your discs out. Of course, same thing when you're inhabiting a house, it locks out your cubes. You can't take that cube and get it out. Now, I should say that, like I said, with the different ones, these bonus tokens will let you do different things, like for instance, switch cubes in an area. For instance, I told you earlier, what if red took over black and I had white? Anyone that scored these roads, red would get the victory point, not me. But there are little bonus tokens that allow you to switch places with anyone, and so now, haha, I will be getting the bonus points for anyone who's scoring those roads. So there's some trickery and skullduggery about with these bonus tokens. They're really nice. Now, another thing that you may want to do in the game, even though I've never seen anyone do it, they say if you can establish a route from this red city to this red city, meaning you have maybe a cube in every house that you can connect a road that goes from one to the next, you will instantly score 7 victory points, which is big in the game because victory points are kind of hard to get. In fact, let me talk to you about the end of the game. The game ends in one of 3 ways. The first one is someone gets to 20 points. Yes, 20 points. First one to 20 points, that ends the game. Or maybe you ran out of bonus tokens. If someone goes to reach for a bonus token, there are no more left and they have to replace one, then the game would end. Another way, and I've seen all 3 of these end this way, you could have someone get 10 houses. They've inhabited 10 houses. If that's the case, they will end the game as well. After that happens, what you're going to do is add up all your bonus points, meaning your houses times your keys and getting those bonus points, which would be a lot. If I had 4 and I had 10 houses, that's 40 points right there. I'd go from 20 to 60 almost instantly. And then, of course, you have any various victory points concerning these little meat and potatoes things and anything else you have on the board. In fact, there are some cubes, if you put a house or you inhabit it with a cube or a disc, you will automatically gain a victory point right then and there. I should also mention that this comes with 2 expansion tracks. I think this is the East Side and this is Britannia. Basically, they're just the same as this. There's different maps and different strategies if you get bored of just that one. Also, this board is double-sided. I am playing on the 2 and 3 player board. If you flipped around, it'd be for the 4 and 5 player board. Final thoughts. What do I think about this game? Well, don't really know how to pronounce the name, but it looks like Teutonica. Anyway, I think this is a great game. It has a lot of decisions to make, but it goes really quick. You can easily figure out a rhythm, and the more players you have, the crazier it gets. You're establishing routes, you're trying to unlock new actions. I've seen the game end in all 3 ways. Whoever built 10 buildings or had routes established, or victory points a lot of the time, and even bonus tokens, because once people get those bonus tokens, like, ooh, I think I could get a few more of those. So there is a lot of little strategies in here, and that I have the expansions in it, I'll never get bored, because sometimes you'll be, oh man, it's the same board every time, so people are probably going to go for the same strategies. Yes and no. There's a lot of people like, it's not worth bumping people all the time for. I need to go ahead and start getting this or start getting that. I saw a lot of different strategies come out each time we played the game. In fact, one guy, I remember he established a house where the keys were, and I was like, why would you want to unlock the keys? You don't need to do that till the end of the game. Oh, because then when everyone started doing it, he started gathering up, just rocking in those victory points. So it was kind of smart. Now, should you get this game? Absolutely not. This is out of print, and it costs way, 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 way too much. I paid a little shiny penny for this copy because it came with the expansions, and I said, well, for that reason, I'll go ahead and pay a little bit more. But how much is it probably worth realistically? Probably 40 bucks. They really need to reprint it and sell it for 40 bucks, and then you should get it and it'd be fun. Until then, you need to pass on this because it's way too expensive and it's not worth the price that people are selling for now, even though I do enjoy the game. All right, folks, that's it for now. Until next time, gamers, game on!